What if the weapon you spent years building suddenly turned around and pointed straight at you? That's exactly what's happening right now in American politics, and it is something to behold. For years, Donald Trump and the MAGA movement built their entire political identity around one simple, repeatable claim. If we don't like it, it's fake. If it hurts us, it's rigged. If it's inconvenient, it's staged. Elections, investigations, media reports, all of it, they said, was a hoax. And now, in one of the most ironic political moments in modern American history, those exact same words are being fired back at them. The shooting at the White House Correspondents' dinner has triggered a wave of conspiracy theories, and here's the part that should make everyone stop and think. Those theories aren't just coming from the left. They're coming from everywhere, from liberals, from conservatives, from former Trump supporters. The chickens, as they say, have finally come home to roost. Let's be absolutely clear about something before we go any further. This video is not about whether the shooting itself was real. It was real. People were there. Journalists hit the ground. Phones went up. The entire thing was captured in real time by hundreds of witnesses, reporters, and cameras from every major news organization in the country. What this video is about is the reaction, the stunning, sprawling, bipartisan wave of people across social media saying this was staged, this was a false flag, this was manufactured for political gain. And the reason that reaction matters so deeply is because of where it comes from. It doesn't come out of nowhere. It is the direct, predictable, almost mathematically inevitable result of years of MAGA conditioning the American public to distrust everything, to question everything, and to assume that anything dramatic or politically convenient must be fake. That seed has now grown into something they can no longer control. Here's a perfect snapshot of how this mindset operates in real time. Just this week, Donald Trump sat down with Fox News and was asked about the Virginia ballot referendum, an election where Democrats successfully flipped 4 congressional seats through redistricting. A clean, court-approved democratic process, and Trump's response? Immediate, reflexive, baseless. He claimed it was rigged. He claimed there was cheating. He said votes appeared out of nowhere. Sound familiar? Because it should. This is the exact same playbook Trump has run every single time he or his party faces a loss. It doesn't matter how clean the process was. It doesn't matter what the courts ruled. If Trump loses, the only explanation he's capable of offering is fraud. The election was stolen. The votes were fake. He cannot lose. He is beyond reproach. And that psychological pattern, that absolute refusal to accept any unfavorable outcome as legitimate, is now the lens through which millions of Americans view. So now here we are, watching that same pattern boomerang back with full force. People all over social media, left, right, and center, are saying the shooting at the White House Correspondents' dinner was staged. The phrase false flag is everywhere. It's in YouTube comments, it's trending on X, it's flooding political timelines across every platform. And the MAGA world is furious about it. Matt Walsh, one of the most prominent figures at the Daily Wire, and himself no stranger to promoting conspiracy theories, came out swinging. He laid out how absurd the stage theory sounds, that the Trump administration somehow convinced a registered Democrat, his words, to volunteer to go to prison for life as a psychological operation to justify building a White House ballroom that was already under construction anyway. And look, when you say it like that, it does sound ridiculous. Most conspiracy theories do. But here's the thing, Matt, so did Pizzagate. That last point is worth sitting with for a moment because it exposes the fundamental logical failure at the heart of MAGA conspiracism. If Democrats were powerful enough to steal the 2020 presidential election from Donald Trump, the most protected and scrutinized election in American history, why couldn't they steal it for their Senate candidates? Why couldn't they flip more House seats? Why did Republicans win anything at all in 2020? If the deep state is so all-powerful, so perfectly coordinated, so capable of pulling off a massive fraud without a single whistleblower or piece of hard evidence emerging, how did Trump win in 2016? How did he win again in 2024? The internal logic simply does not hold. And that's the definition of a conspiracy theory. It's not a coherent alternative explanation. It's a feeling, a mood, a reflexive distrust that gets applied selectively, conveniently, and almost always in the direction that benefits whoever is promoting it. What makes this moment so genuinely extraordinary is the range of voices piling on. This isn't just progressives dunking on Trump. Democratic pundit John Fugelsang posted something that perfectly captures the moment. He wrote, quote, "Live your life so that if you face multiple assassination attempts, millions of people, right, left, and center, won't all simultaneously tweet that it's staged." Even Andrew Wilson, one of the sharper debaters on the right, someone I've gone up against personally, is acknowledging what's happening. He wrote that the right-wing influencer space has become a spectacle of conspiracy theories and that the left is capitalizing on it, using the right's own gullibility against them. That's a prominent conservative saying his own side's conspiracism is now a political liability. And liberal commentator David Pakman pointed out that the more MAGA talks about the ballroom angle, the more it's going to look like a setup to skeptical observers. This is a feedback low. And it's not only this shooting. According to reporting from Wired magazine, the conspiracy theories have now circled back to Butler, Pennsylvania, the 2024 assassination attempt, the one with the iconic image of Trump raising his fist with blood on his face. That image, once seen as a defining moment of political resilience, is now being called staged by a growing number of his own former supporters. As Trump's approval among his base has eroded, some of his most loyal voices have started questioning whether the whole thing was manufactured. Comedian Tim Dillon, once a staunch Trump ally, publicly floated the idea that Trump should just admit he staged it to show how much he cared about his supporters. Tucker Carlson promoted doubts about the FBI's role. Conservative pundit Emerald Robinson went further, claiming the FBI was behind it entirely. And Joe Kent, a former U.S. counterterrorism director, went on Tucker's podcast and added even more fuel. CNN actually went out and asked a real expert whether it would even be physically possible to stage the Butler assassination attempt. Spencer Parsons, an associate professor of media production at Northwestern University and an independent filmmaker who has staged shooting scenes professionally, walked through the hypothetical. His conclusion? It would be virtually impossible. When you stage a shooting for film or television, you have total control. Multiple cameras, multiple takes, full lighting control, post-production effects, sound engineering, safety coordinators, and weeks of editing. Now, imagine trying to do all of that in the open air, in real time, in front of thousands of witnesses, hundreds of journalists with professional cameras, and countless bystanders with smartphones, with exactly one take, no retakes, no editing, and no margin for error. The supposed fake shooter would need to fire close enough to Trump's head to make it look real without actually hitting him. MSNBC dedicated an entire segment to this story this morning, and it was one of the most honest conversations I've seen on television in a long time. Journalists who were actually in that room, who hit the floor, who texted their families, who called their moms, expressed genuine frustration and hurt at seeing people online claim it was all fake. One anchor made a point that cut right to the heart of it. She said she was hearing the false flag theory, not just from the right, but from people on the left too. And another anchor responded with two words that I think explain everything: lack of trust. That's what this is really about. It's not about ballrooms or red carpet sound bites or dropped phone calls. It's about a country that has been so thoroughly saturated in conspiratorial thinking, so conditioned to assume bad faith from its institutions and leaders, that it can no longer process reality at face value. So, here's where I land, and I want to be direct. I do not believe the shooting at the White House Correspondents' dinner was staged. I do not believe Butler was staged. If you want to convince me otherwise, bring me compelling, verifiable evidence. You don't have to trust Trump. You don't have to trust Fox News. What we are watching right now is the inevitable consequence of years of weaponized distrust, a political strategy that has now fully turned on its creators. MAGA built the conspiracy machine, they fed it, they celebrated it, and now it's consuming them. The chickens are home, they are very loud, and this is only the beginning. If this video made you think, please hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss a breakdown like this one. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read them all.